Okay, all right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Betta Broad, and I work on the New Yorkers for Clean Power campaign, and we were really excited this year to partner with Sustainable Hudson Valley and Catskill Mountain Keeper to launch HeatSmart Ulster Sullivan. And so that's why we're all here today, to learn more about HeatSmart Ulster Sullivan with our resident expert, Hugo Jule, and learn more about the campaign and how to plug in. So thanks so much for being here. And if you want, you can type in your questions into the chat, or we can just wait till the end and then hear from you directly. So really whatever's best for you. But I figure we'll allow Hugo to get through all of his slides since he's got a lot of material, and then we can have a discussion at the end. Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, great. So I'm gonna share the screen with you all. So we have the PowerPoint here. Desktop. Oops, wrong PowerPoint. Okay, can people see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, okay, great. So I'm going to just put that into slideshow mode, play from the start, and then let Hugo take it away.
All right, here we go. So welcome to the best heat pump webinar you will ever attend. Yeah, I guarantee that. So we have a lot of information to share with everybody, so we're gonna jump right into it. Some of the goals that we're trying to accomplish here is to give you an overview of the technical aspects of heat pumps, who we are, what this campaign is all about, and how we can promote this effort. Some of the guiding questions that we have, and you know, this is pretty important, I feel. It's the fact that I'm saving on my energy bills myself. I have reduced my own fossil fuel consumption by a good 70–75%. And in my case, something that I did was an air source heat pump water heater. So if you're looking for new heating systems, this kind of technologies can help. And we're gonna tie energy efficiency into all of this. So, and don't worry too much about taking notes, since this is all being recorded, so you can review all of this later too. Now, what is HeatSmart Ulster Sullivan? It's basically the outreach and education campaign to tell everybody about this. Like many other efforts, it is supported by NYSERDA, so thank you for that. So if you see this HeatSmart logo everywhere, that is the campaign. Who is doing this? If you've been around in the Hudson Valley for the past few years, you may remember the Solarize Hudson Valley campaign. So it's also, again, just a different technology. Catskill Mountain Keeper, Sustainable Hudson Valley, New Yorkers for Clean Power. We are the key players in this effort for Ulster and Sullivan, but we might be doing others. Stay tuned. Pretty much from Catskill Mountain Keeper, we have Sam, right? Melissa from Sustainable Hudson Valley. Betta, our host for today, from New Yorkers for Clean Power, and moi. So why is this important? You may be aware that New York State is in the Northeast. You may be aware that we have winters. You may be aware of your heating systems running pretty much most of the winter, right? So that translates into the amount of energy, or the overall energy usage for homes in New York State. And as you can see, it's a pretty big chunk of it. It's for space heating, but also for water heating and, of course, electricity and appliances. So what I find interesting is that, and this kind of makes sense, the air conditioning is the smallest load, but that is actually growing. Why? Summers are getting hotter, and we're going to be seeing much more demand for the cooling side. So that's, this will be changing even more. So now we're going to tie energy efficiency into this, because in the end, when we're talking about heat pumps, whether they're air source or ground source, it's a type of heating system. So here's the setup, all right? Before we had all the technology, we still needed a box, a house, a home to live in, right? So think about this type of envelope. What kind of heating system do you think will be efficient in this house, okay? Think about the heating system that you have at your home right now. Is it a boiler, a furnace? Maybe you already have an air source heat pump, but it's not a cold climate one. How well do you think that will work in this type of envelope and why, okay? Here's another one for perspective. Basically, the effectiveness and efficiency of a heating system is dependent on the type of box that is built in, all right? So the envelope and the efficiency of the envelope is very important. Now, getting a little bit into the building science of why energy efficiency ties into heat pumps is basically because you're trying to condition the space, more specifically the air. Why? You are usually, more comfortable anywhere between 65, 68, 72 degrees all year round. So during the winter, you might like it, hot at 68 or 72, but during the summer, you will want it cold at the same 68 or 72. But the way that air moves through the house is very important. How you control that is key to sizing your heating systems accordingly. And this is just a very basic picture of how air moves through a building. So the benefits of addressing the envelope, it's fairly simple. By improving the efficiency of the building, you are able to condition that space and the air better. This translates into your heating systems running less or more efficiently, which means that you will reduce the amount of money you're spending on utilities, but it's also going to make your building a lot more comfortable. Another thing that's really important is that the heating system is supposed to be able to help maintain a good indoor air quality. Not all of them do that. You may or may not have a ducted system. You may only have a boiler, and that may do nothing in terms of removing humidity. That again ties into how well the envelope is built. But also other things that you may be familiar with, ice dams, things like that. And so again, we are trying to do a good job of addressing the need for air sealing and insulation, because if you're considering a new heating system, whether it's a ground source or air source heat pump, you want to make sure that your investment is sound, and this is pretty important. Places where we feel you should pay attention to is basically at the bottom and at the top of the building. More specifically, and we're going to share some dollars and cents about this, the rim joist in the basement or in the crawl space, and also the attic. Now, in case you are looking to do, say, a gut rehab, or maybe even consider new construction or doing some kind of a major renovation, it doesn't hurt to get familiar with the different types of air sealing insulation materials and processes. Here's just a quick example of spray foam and cellulose. Take your time to understand the difference between open cell and closed cell spray foam, and also how green, if you will, the actual material is. I personally feel that cellulose recycled content is perhaps the most cost-effective and greenest option out there right now. And I'll say stay away from the pink awful fiberglass. So as I was saying, we have some idea of what an energy efficient improvement can cost. And again, it varies. Every home is different. Some may have a crawl space that's very damp and needs a lot of attention. Some may just need rim joists. Some may not have an attic that you can air seal and insulate properly. So these are just some very high level numbers. But most of the work that we see starts in the range of $1,500 to $3,000 for a basement and perhaps an attic, and it can easily go from $6,000 to even more for top and bottom of the home. So this is something that you want to take into account, because if you're looking into a heating system upgrade, you also want to budget in something for efficiency as well. But you will see good results after doing all of this, I guarantee you too. Apologies for that little note there if you're seeing it. So a couple of things that you want to pay attention to, and this is very important. Be as familiar as you can with your home, with your building. If you haven't been in the basement or in the attic in a while, take a moment to go there. Are you aware of how much insulation there is? If you've been to the attic, do you see all the light coming through from inside the building, through all the plumbing penetrations, phone penetrations? All of that adds up to the air leakage of the building. So take a moment to be familiar with your place. Now, something that we're also trying to bring awareness is to realtors and people who are looking to buy a new home, or maybe they're trying to sell their home. It's all connected, I say, because a realtor may or may not be aware of the energy efficiency component of a new home or something that you're looking to buy. And you will be very well educated and ask, is there any insulation in the attic? They might say, oh, well, yes, there is. Has there been a blower door test done to this building? They may look at you as like, I have no idea what that is. Or they might say, yes, in fact, this home is very well air sealed and insulated, but you may need a boiler replacement. So that's something that is very important to keep in mind if you're looking to buy or sell a home as well. Now, okay, everybody doing good, I hope. I cannot really see you all right now, but I'm hoping you're hanging in there. Let's jump into the technologies that we're talking about. The simplest way that I can explain heat pumps is that if you have a refrigerator already in your house, you already have a type of a heat pump. You have half the equation already solved. Basically, it's an electromechanical device that moves heat from one space into another. But ideally, we want it to do more than that because, again, in most cases, especially here in the Northeast, you may only have a heating system that provides heat, say a boiler, right? This may do nothing to provide cooling or to address indoor air quality with air filtration or to remove humidity from the space. This is why we're liking heat pumps. They can do multiple things. Heat pumps can heat, cool, and dehumidify. And the best thing, they run on electricity, but much more efficiently than a resistance electrical system. Now, if you're into mechanical engineering, you will appreciate this drawing. If not, just ignore it. We can show you better fixes later. But again, it's a mechanical device that can use a refrigerant or a heat transfer fluid to move heat from one space to the other. During the winter, you obviously want heat to be into the space, but during the summer, you want to move that out of the building and create a cool and comfortable condition. So now, diving into the nitty-gritty of the technologies that we are talking about here today, we are referring to ground source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, and heat pump water heaters. This is not everything that's available out in the market, but this is pretty much what the campaign is referring to. You can spend some time online and diving into other options or combinations of these technologies. But this is what the state and us feel that it's more applicable to most of the buildings right now. So a few more benefits of heat pumps. As I mentioned before, you may have a heating system that's only doing, say, hydronic hot water baseboard, only providing heat, but it's not going to do much for dehumidification or for air filtration. You want a system that can provide you comfort in all aspects, and this is something that heat pumps can do. Okay, now in some cases, a building may or may not have ductwork already there. Heat pumps provide some flexibility to retrofit systems into existing buildings. Now, so something that's important to understand, and this is diving into air source heat pumps, is that there is a bunch of different types actually. What you're seeing in the picture here, it's one type of air source heat pumps, and this one's are usually referred to as mini splits, and this is because they are split systems. Part of it is on the outside, and the other part, the one that blows the cold or hot air, is inside the building, okay? If you already have a furnace with central air, everything may be inside the building, and it's one complete unit. This one's provide flexibility because if you don't have an attic space or a basement, this can be done nice and neatly from the outside to the inside. But air source heat pumps can also be a ducted system. And something else that we're gonna jump into shortly, it's the difference between a regular air source heat pump and a cold climate one, which is important too. So this ties a little bit more into the different types of air source heat pumps, okay? They can work with or without ductwork. They can be retrofitted into buildings that have or don't have ductwork, and they can work as a full replacement for a heating system or a partial replacement. More specific to the way I did it at my home, the fuel oil boiler is still in place. So what we did was not try and do a complete replacement, but rather a displacement of the heating and cooling loads, which for my budget worked great because I didn't have to buy a complete new system, and I didn't have to spend money on demo or removing stuff, and it stays as a backup as well. The other thing about air source heat pumps is if you're going with the mini splits is that you can have multiple zones with different sizes working at different times in different settings as well, so the flexibility is really good there. Now, as with everything, and this can apply to any heating system, depending on your project, some can be expensive, so having a good budget, it's important. In some cases, like I was saying before, you will need to have some kind of backup. Just maybe the architecture of the building doesn't allow you to retrofit many units. So maybe you'll keep your boiler or your furnace, but only use it at, say, 20% capacity. You're still going to be doing it really well. And the technology is still a little bit new. It can be a little bit confusing to use the remote, or if you're not into mobile applications, you may just want all-dial thermostat. So there's a little bit of a learning curve there. So you can ask the contractors or us for help. And as I mentioned before, during the energy efficiency component, air source heat pumps or ground source heat pumps, they will work best if your home is well air sealed and insulated, right? And this is where I recommend for everybody to take the time to, again, see what kind of heating system you have at your home and talk to the contractors. We've selected some really good ones for this campaign. So keep notes of, you know, what your home, the condition of your home is and what the upgrades you will want so you can have that conversation. Now, so there are air source heat pumps that they may put some good heat to maybe 40 degrees outdoor temperature, maybe even 30 degrees, maybe just below freezing. But we want to make sure that, you know, we can do most of the heating and cooling in all conditions. So something that the Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnership and others were trying to figure out is what defines a cold climate air source heat pump. And we're not going to get deep into the technicalities of what these ratings are, but think of it as the equivalent of miles per gallon in your car. For SEER or for the home performance, any number will be better. And those numbers are usually in the 11, 12 to 20 or more range. And this is another very good question to ask the contractors depending on the heating system that they offer. And we'll show you what we mean in a moment here. The other thing that relates more to ground source heat pumps is the coefficient of performance. Another question that you want to bring up to your contractor. Most of them, air source, ground source heat pumps, are way more efficient than any boiler, furnace, or electrical resistance heat. And obviously, if it's got the Energy Star sticker, it's better than average. Something that I've learned recently that helps define cold climate is this variable speed or inverter-driven compressor. Basically, it's part of the technology that makes this equipment so much more efficient and able to produce some heat even well below 0 degrees. And that is what you're looking for. Okay, so here's a little bit of a case study of a customer who I believe was going through a ground source heat pump. And this is really good for every homeowner to know and every volunteer as well. And it can help you guide the conversation with the contractor. This dives into what an energy assessment could be or energy modeling of your home, because if you remember that TP picture, the R value or the resistance to heat loss may not be very good. What does that mean? If your walls have no insulation, if your basement's got no insulation at all, if there's nothing in the attic, you know, the system might be oversized and it may be running too much. It's pretty much that simple. So you want to make sure that you're understanding of the size and type of construction of your home so you can size things properly. And it's also really good to have an idea of where is all this equipment going to go. In my case, I did not have ductwork. I did not want ductwork. It would have been too expensive. So retrofitting an air source heat pump, which I'll show you in a moment, was the way to go. And yeah, there is mine. So the equipment works great, but there is definitely some maintenance that you want to keep in mind. Operations, the installer will show you how each one works. Most of them are pretty much the same heating and cooling controls. You set it to the comfort temperature that you like and just about, you know, forget it. Something that I'm really, really loving about my air source heat pump, the one that you're seeing on the screen, is the dehumidification mode. It works so well and it makes the space so comfortable that sometimes even at 78, 80 degrees, it feels cold in there. So that's how well those units work. So for the most part, I think I've been using the dehumidification mode more than the cooling mode. But maintenance is important. So check this out. I was a little bit of a slacker and I had not taken the time to clean my air filters properly. So you can see right there clearly that they were in need of some cleaning. The All Discipline Me was trying to do this type of cleaning at the first of the month. They recommend, you know, depending on your conditions, it's really dusty once or twice a month. But this is, I think, at about 3 months. So my place is not that messy. So every 2 months will be the ideal thing to do. So keep in mind that the equipment does require some maintenance, but it's, you know, for an able-bodied person, really easy to do. So now that's something that comes into the conversation. It's, okay, you know, what if something breaks, all right? It's a valid concern, just like with any other heating system. So workmanship, equipment, and what is everybody really offering? It's not that much different than a regular heating system. Everybody has some type of, offering, whether it's 1 year, 2 year for factory equipment or for the labor. So make sure that you take time to understand what your contractor is offering. And as I was saying before, so different contractors like to carry different equipment, whatever they feel most, that comfortable with. And these are some of the ones that we are seeing in the area. The one that I have installed is Mitsubishi 9000 BTUs, but I'm seeing a lot of Fujitsu's, LGs. I'm not seeing Samsung in this short list, but I know that there are quite a few of them. Carrier is one that I'm seeing more for small commercial applications, especially if you may be looking for a ducted type system, and there might be even more. It can come down to a comparison similar to which is your favorite electric vehicle, a Toyota, a Honda, a Nissan, or a Mitsubishi. So take the time to ask the contractor, why does my neighbor have a Fujitsu and why are you recommending an LG, for example? All right, so this is the other type of heat pump that we're really excited about, ground source. Why are they so cool, I guess, or hot? Because they basically take advantage of the consistent ground temperature. That makes it much more efficient because as opposed to a boiler or a furnace that's, trying to get your house temperature to 78 degrees from, as cold as that 30 or 20 degrees, a ground source heat pump is already using a constant temperature of anywhere between 50 to 55 degrees depending. So that makes the coefficient of performance of this specific product, if you will, very efficient. But again, keep in mind that it all ties into how well the envelope is air sealed and insulated. Ground source heat pumps also have quite a bit of flexibility. You may be aware that for a lot of them, you have to drill boreholes. That is one choice, but as you can see here, you can also dig trenches. So it's also important to know what kind of a space you have around your home. If you're in a neighborhood where you have no space in the ground at all, this may or may not work for you. But in some cases, they're able to do some drilling in some very tight spaces. So definitely ask the contractor, okay, what can work here? A couple of more examples of how they can be designed and arranged. It's most commonly known that ground source heat pumps can work with ducted systems. It's just easier to retrofit. So if you do not have already a central air or ductwork in place, keep in mind that you may have to bring this in or figure out a way to retrofit all of that, which also ties into basically the ventilation of the entire building as well. So now, again, touching on the fact that ground source heat pumps are very, very efficient because they don't have to do a ton of work to move the heat from one place to another or bring it up to the comfortable temperature. But thinking of the 50, 55 degree constant temperature of the ground, if you want to bring it to your comfortable 68 degrees of your home, that's not a lot of difference in the temperature that they have to work on. They don't have to do a lot of pumping, as I think some people may think that the pumps work hard. The pressurized systems already take care of that. So all they're doing is moving the fluid, and that gets transferred into your air distribution system at the home. In some of them, this is pretty cool. They can provide domestic hot water as well. And we will touch on air source heat pump water heaters also. One of the things that you need to be aware of is that ground source heat pumps, as they are right now, they're still pretty pricey, so do not be surprised by high initial costs. So take the time to understand your budget, your needs, and what the contractor may offer. Does this ground source heat pump information sound similar to the air source heat pumps? It should be, because they're more or less the same. The heating systems will be dependent on the conditions of your home, how well air sealed and insulated are, and if you're looking to do a full system replacement or perhaps maybe even a combination of options, but the benefits are pretty much the same. And as the pictures were showing, if you do not have enough space around your home to do some drilling, that will be a challenge. What is it going to look like? Is is your yard going to be all destroyed for a little bit, for a few weeks, for a few months? Or are you going to have to do some landscaping to address that? As a contractor, show me what the work will look like once it's all up and running. And are there going to be any issues? These systems rely on a fluid that's moving pretty much all the time or as needed. So is there going to be a leak? Is there some plumbing issues? What is the likelihood of that? So ask just these basic questions. So yeah, there is more. Heat pumps are Not gonna get too distracted into a heat pump clothes dryer, which I believe they make also. We're not covering that, but you should know that heat pumps are amazing technology. So for domestic hot water, yes, they also have solutions. We will be talking about some of the incentives and rebates, but before I forget, you should know that if you are in Central Hudson territories, their rebate for air source heat pump water heaters went from $500 to $750, I believe. And that you can take advantage right at the hardware store, like the local ones in here. You don't even have to submit the rebate form. They can take it off right there at the register. So just like I mentioned at the beginning, if you already have a refrigerator, you already have a type of heat pump. So this one works in basically in reverse, and it takes the heat from the space, ideally a basement or perhaps even in the house, and it transfers that to the water in the tank. I believe there's going to be a picture of mine here too. Again, heat pumps, because of how they're designed, are much more efficient than electric resistance heat. And you should be aware of the space requirements and that it will make that space colder. So if you have an unfinished basement, that may be the best place to put them. In some of them, the fan can be a little bit noisy. Some of them are actually fairly quiet, but don't have a recording studio next to one of them. Oh, yep, that's mine right there. Mine is actually not working right now because I have a water leak. I have a pipe that I have to fix, but other than that, what I really like about this is the different settings. You can run it as a heat pump only, as an electric resistance only for high demand. You can run it as a hybrid, which I believe is the most efficient. And depending on how much laundry or how many people you have in your house, you may actually even want to consider an on-demand water heater. This is because we actually do a lot of laundry, 3 people in the house, 1 dog, 2 cats. So we have a fairly, big requirement for hot water. But do take the time to understand the space requirement, the volume requirements. All right, so simple answer, how much can you save? It all depends. It all depends on how much you're paying currently for frac gas, for fuel oil, for propane, for electricity. It all depends on the type of heating system that you currently have. It all depends on, do you have 5, 6, 7 people in your home right now, or just 2? This type of question will be best answered if you do a full energy assessment where all the utility bills are reviewed, and that should be part of your decision-making process looking into a new heating system, ideally with a heat pump. And how much do they cost? So, in the most basic scenario with the single zone, basically 1 indoor unit and 1 condensing unit outside, in the 9,000 to say 12,000 BTU range, they can cost anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000, maybe more, depending on how long the line set run is. That is the connection point between the indoor unit and the outdoor unit. If you're looking into multiple zones when you want to do different rooms, your living room, the kitchen, 1 bedroom upstairs, or whatever, you will be looking at easily $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 or more. And again, if you are looking to retrofit into a ducted system, this can be even more expensive, especially if you need to redo ductwork or bring in a new distribution system. Ground source, as we mentioned before, they are more expensive, but there's also, different contractors will have financial options as well, which we're going to touch on in a moment. The most cost-effective solution that anybody and everybody should be implementing right now, especially if you have an all fuel oil water heater or frac gas water heater, is look into this air source heat pump water heaters. They work so well, and you can get one installed for even under $3,000, and that can just start making a difference right away. And I really like it. So now incentives, something that's a little bit tricky to understand is that depending on your own situation, whether it's a residential home or maybe a business, you can access different types of incentives and finances. There are some from the state through NYSERDA. There are some federal ones. There are some from the utilities. Hey, you never know. There might be one from the hardware store where you're buying some parts. Take the moment to ask about each and every one of them and see how you can leverage all of them. The one thing interesting about the NYSERDA one, and I cannot remember if there had been any changes, this rebates can change all the time, is that the incentive was dependent on the size of the system. And if you're looking into cooling, that's usually by ton, okay? and it may also be referrals by BTU. So pay attention to what the rebate is depending on the size of the system. So these are just a few numbers to give you an idea. So now financing. When I did my installation of the air source heat pump, I tried to do it under the NYSERDA Home Performance Program through the HeatSmart loan that they offer, but we were not able to do it because the contractor was not a participating BPI certified heat pump installer. So the NYSERDA route did not work for me, so I ended up doing the financing that the contractor had in-house, and that was actually Synchrony Bank, which is here listed on the screen. But depending on your situation, if you are the owner of the home and maybe the NYSERDA program works for you, you should be able to finance that. And not only that, you may also be able to access rebates for the air sealing installation part. So just like looking at the incentives and rebates from the utility, look at the finance and also incentives and rebates from NYSERDA and see how you can leverage all of that. And if I got you all lost and confused, it's okay. It is confusing. So take your time to reach out to us and the contractor so we can help you navigate through all of that. All right, quite possibly the most important part of the presentation, the installers. These are the ones who can make this a reality for you, your home, your buildings. We can talk about all of this all day, but these are the people who can make it happen. So something that we've done under this campaign is take the time to evaluate the installers in the area and figure out who's really got the credential to make these projects happen the right way. For this campaign, in alphabetical order, we have Advanced Radiant Design. They do ground source heat pumps, water-to-water systems, radiant design systems, so they can provide heating and cooling solutions. We have Dandelion Energy. I believe for the most part, they are specializing on ground source heat pumps on water-to-air systems, basically your central air type system. We have energy conservation specialists. They're the ones doing air sealing installation for most of the buildings and who can help you navigate through some of these financing options also for the energy efficiency part. We have renewable energy solutions, who I believe are located in Sullivan County and are covering most of the Sullivan part of this campaign, but they are doing all kinds of good work down there, air source, heat pumps, water heaters, and also energy efficiency. Rycor, it's, I believe, doing for the most part the mini split types. I know that they are working with Mitsubishi because they did my installation at home. So they are located right in New Paltz, so very convenient for anybody in the Woodstock, New Paltz, Gardner area. So yeah, we're coming to the end, and what's important here is to take the time to understand that us, HeatSmart, is the campaign. The technology that we're talking about are heat pumps, mostly ground source, air source, and water heaters. And to really take the time to do an assessment of your home and your situation. You feel that you want to get off fossil fuels. You feel that you need to get a new heating system upgrade. Are you tired of how hot and humid it is during the summer? You want to make your space more comfortable, which, by the way, was the #1 reason why I did mine. What is it that you and your home need? We also feel that it's important to talk to other people who've done this. Some of us have been early adopters for many different technologies, so we'll be happy to tell you everything that we know. We're not trying to keep any secrets, but talk to anybody else who's done it. Sometimes we have open houses. Go and check it out. Go and touch the equipment, see how it works, and feel it. The comfort level is just amazing with these units. Let's see, and yeah, I think that's all we have for now. I think we're doing pretty good on time, so back to our host.
Cool. Go, Hugo.
Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. So I will stop sharing and bring it back. Melissa, did you want
I was just going to invite people to ask questions and then also save some time for your feedback on the slides, the delivery, and talk about, some hopes and plans for the campaign. But questions for Hugo first.
And you can type them in as well. You can also, do we have an email that people can send questions, comments? I mean, we're going to
There's a chat feature on the right-hand side of your screen, or if you go into the little, on the bottom bar, there's a little thing you click for chat. And you
unmute yourself since there's not that many of us and ask directly.
Yeah, yeah.
but Lori typed in her question. Does this process skip the full home energy assessment?
Technically, yes. You could go to the hardware store, buy an air source heat pump, and just do it to it, but it's not what we would recommend.
And let me add, actually, I have a follow-up. Most of the air source installers are very interested in educating upfront and encouraging comprehensive assessments. Dandelion has a different business model, and they believe that with geothermal, there's enough flexibility that if they oversize the system a little bit and prevent people getting hung up with home energy audits, that's okay with them. So we, encourage people to be, as mindful of efficiency as possible, but everybody is also mindful not to let people get bogged down.
Any other questions?
Great slideshow, Hugo. Thank you. Just looking at NYSERDA's program manual, April 2019, which I have not read in full, but just scanning through it. It says there's a chart, qualifying equipment, 2-ton whole house air source heat pump system, site owner incentive $1,500, participating installer incentive $500. As I say, I haven't read through this whole thing. It is 13 pages long. Are you familiar with it?
I was going to say yes, and we were hoping to get the updated list of incentives directly from NYSERDA. I believe it's one of the questions we have outstanding there, because there was some rumor that those rebates, those numbers were going to change, but we don't know exactly by when and for how much. So
okay.
And I
got the vague impression that they've increased the amount available for the air source, brought it a little closer to the ground source. But anyway, so that's something that's in flux at the moment, you say?
Yeah, I don't really have a good answer of what's available.
Okay.
Okay, we have a call with them on Friday, though. We will make sure we have that updated for everyone.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you mentioned it, but I don't recall hearing mention of water heating with central air source heat pumps using desuperheaters.
That was, we touched on that one very briefly on the ground source heat pump.
Okay.
You hot water from ground source heat pump units with the desuperheater.
You just mentioned it in terms of the ground source heat pump?
Correct.
Yeah, but doesn't it work as well, particularly with the cold climate air source heat pump? Or
yeah, it's sure, and I believe some of them use an electric backup anyway, so you should have plenty of 120-degree water with the ground source heat pump system.
Yeah.
No, he was asking about whether it works with air source as well.
Right.
Or with a ducted air source heat pump system.
Yeah.
So that I have not seen. All the ones that I've seen are separate.
Okay. I haven't kept up with it, but NEEP ought to know. I know that many years ago, there were definitely a feature of air source heat pumps, of central air source heat pumps, as opposed to the mini split air source heat pumps. But NEEP,
I've looked into it and I haven't found any. I've found some like add-on technologies, but I have not found any ones that I would consider reliable manufacturers that offer it.
Okay. That answers that question.
Yeah. No.
Huh. That's a pity.
It's coming. It is definitely in some manufacturers' plans, but not with the current technology, not currently available.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions about the either technologies or about the campaign in general?
I mean, maybe we should just, Lori?
Lori, hold
Is your sound on, Lori?
I was trying here. You can't hear me here, right?
Got you
Gotcha.
now. I can hear you.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Ah. All right. So I'm not understanding 100% the difference between how the energized home audits work in this program. That was the gist of my question before. So if someone comes in, are they signing up for an official energized audit?
They have the choice of using any form of energy audit that they want. We just encourage them to do something that focuses on their building envelope before they make the heat pump decision.
Okay, so it's a narrower version.
It can be. I mean,
okay.
You know, if somebody wants to just dive in and do a full energy audit, we love that.
But it's not required to get the NYSERDA financing or...
Lori, are you talking about the campaign that Energize is doing in Orange County, which is the same as ours? Or the Energize?
So we've been doing in Red Hook the Energize New York program, where we try to get people to do the home energy audits, and then, you know, then they move on to improvements in this. Yeah.
I think you're one of several towns doing a special project that's a behavioral intervention they're trying to study of the impact of the Energize audits. So,
I'm not narrow at all. It's just trying to get people to, you know, for years we've been doing this, try to get them to sign up for the home energy assessment and then act on it. And it's just trying to understand.
Yep. So we have energy conservation specialists as our provider that we give people referrals to for home energy audits. And they're at liberty to do that or not do that. We encourage it, but we don't specify beyond that.
Okay. Okay.
So that if you can get people to do it, great. But if they want to just go straight to the heat pump decision, the heat pumps can be sized for what their building performance is.
Okay. I
did that, and I got poorly sized heat pumps. So.
Okay. Okay. It's probably easier for people just to jump into the smaller decisions, less.
Yeah, but do the audit with a helpful person, get it done, and move on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we can talk to you about your special situation if you want, because we are funded to do Ulster and Sullivan counties, and NYSERDA is expecting to put out another RFP that we would apply to work with probably Dutchess, Rockland, Columbia, and Greene, but we don't know when that's going to be. So in the meantime, they've said, hey, you want to go over to Dutchess? Knock yourselves out. So we have to be careful over promising, but we can, let's segue into the outreach programs that we have planned, because a few of those can affect Dutchess.
Okay.
So the Sustainable Hudson Valley, for the Ulster County side of things, has subcontracted with New Yorkers for Clean Power, which is one of the best decisions I ever made, to promote events and do media and just help us with outreach. And our Clean Power Guide that we published with Luminary Media has an article on heat pumps that we've been sharing around, and it's online all year. So that's a tool. And then we've created this Clean Power Expo model, which we did with Tom in Marbletown, with Tom's team. And it was pretty fun and got some really good press, which is good leverage. So it had our solar and efficiency and, NYSERDA and those folks, and then all our heat pump contractors. And we are planning to do 2 more of those, and there's some interest in Rhinebeck for one of them. But it's a, several hour event with exhibits and with short workshops where we can go into all this stuff. And then we have been developing media lists and a plan for every couple of weeks, something in the press and regular social media that cuts across EVs and heat pumps and all the different technologies, but just keeps all this stuff visible.
I have a question, and also, by the way, happy birthday, Melissa. I don't know if you
happy birthday, Melissa.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I know Tom and Melissa and myself, we had heat pumps, but Dermot, Lori, do you guys have any kind of clean heating and cooling technology at your homes?
Not at present.
Okay. And what do you feel? Do you feel there's a need for you to do an upgrade?
I'm renting a home.
Okay. So ownership. Lori, how about you? I'm just curious as to you know, where everybody is in terms of their usage of, I guess, fossil fuels for heating equipment.
Oh, we can't hear you. I think you're just muted.
What about
Now we can hear
for
you.
my computer? Yeah.
Yep, you're good.
We have Mitsubishi mini split.
Oh, you do? How do you like it?
I can hear here and talk there. We like them a lot. We've been in the house 2 years. It's new construction. So, they work great. Yeah.
So they came with the home, or you guys did
we built new 2 years ago.
Okay, so that was part of the decision-making process from the beginning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
Cool. Very cool.
Okay, I hear case studies.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Yeah, we were part of our house was a case study for the Clean Energy Community Certification. So we had, you know, the walls inspected before being closed up so that Red Hook could be a clean energy community. It was just the timing worked out on that. So there's some documentation and stuff already.
Great.
And we had the super NYSERDA audit. They also called us for that. So NYSERDA has some data on this building.
Cool. Okay. Well, that's, you know, our presentation. We've already gotten a couple of good pieces of feedback about building mount and pad mount and snow removal, and great. Thank you, Tom. You know, we shared what we have in play on outreach. This campaign goes through the end of this calendar year. Oh, and I didn't mention, Tom is thinking in Marbletown of maybe pushing the envelope on more of a group discount, and he's begun some explorations. You know, we got competitive pricing and great hand-holding, but we did not look for a discount per se.
Yeah, well, we have a, I'm probably going to go with that $100 discount we've negotiated so far. I still have to reach out to the people in our group, but we definitely have a $100 discount if you're looking now. I don't think anyone on the webinar is.
$100.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not gigantic.
Right, and we're trying to understand with the installers, there's one kind of price point that's around 6 or 7 installations where, you know, if they're in the same area, there's a convenience factor. There may be another level for a lot more. So stay tuned. So anyway, we're part of a network of these campaigns there's some in Orange, Putnam, Westchester, and then many other places around the state. And there's a, you know, knowledge base of what all the outreach groups are learning that none of us delves into properly, but it's there. And there's Cadmus Associates as our independent expert, and one homeowner took advantage of them to the case study that we developed around sizing and locating the units. Got a lot of help from them. They are a, you know, kind of a typical consulting firm, but they've gotten really great with being very hands-on, very granular, very like advocating individual by individual and being really involved. So those are the resources that we have.
And in terms of outreach, is the Climate Summit for September 21st our next big event that we should all be aware of? Or is there something in August?
Working on something in August, hoping that we will be confirming something with the Rhinebeck folks, possibly with Woodstock and Saugerties. So if
and one in Sullivan County also.
Yep, and one in Sullivan County. So we've got a few things in the works,
yep,
but no date on the calendar yet, other than the September 21st Climate Solutions Summit at SUNY New Paltz. But hopefully we'll be getting more dates on the calendar very soon.
Yes.
So if you have ideas or community groups that would like to partner to host something, please let us know.
One other question, in terms of the air source heat pumps, Hugo, you had a COP of 2.5 as an indicator for that, and the higher one for the ground source heat pumps. So I've checked with all of the North American manufacturers, all the ones that exhibited the year before last at the NYGO conference, and asked them, does their digital readout, is there any way a homeowner or a business owner can determine the average annual COP of their ground source heat pumps? And none of them could. Okay. There's one manufacturer out of Spain, I believe, that had one through a Canadian importer, and that did have a capacity so a homeowner could analyze it. And installers told me that they knew how to do it with one product. The air source heat pumps, I think it's highly unlikely that there is such a feature, but I'm asking, have you heard of such a feature? So instead of just relying on a 2.5 COP and simplifying it to the COP on an average annual basis, have you found any way that an air source heat pump user can actually get a handle on the average annual COP? Sorry for such a long-winded question, but.
And no, that's a really good question, and the answer is actually yes. And not that I can give you an answer directly yet, but Tom and I are part of the Hudson Valley Heat Pump Research Project, also funded by NYSERDA, where 20 of us homeowners actually have data loggers into the electrical circuits for the heat pumps. So we're about, I think I'm about maybe 6 months in. But to the engineering formula of efficiency, after the full year, we could see how much electricity was going into that circuit, and we could see how much was being consumed by that one, and actually figure out the efficiency. But again, we're sort of like in a way pioneering this because almost nobody's talking about data logging. All right, so this is something that also NYSERDA is interested in. And in Tom's case, he can share all the data loggers that he's got. Mine are pretty simple: one heat pump, one air source heat pump for water heating, solar production, consumption from the grid, and consumption from the boiler. So mine are just a few variables, but we could crunch those numbers later on depending on all that data. So yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I don't think though, even with that, we'll be able to tell the COP in real time, which I think is really what you wanted, Dermot.
No, it's more the average annual.
Okay, yeah, we'll get average animal in real life situations in the Hudson Valley, but yeah, because they're measuring temperature inside the building as well as consumption, and under the full range of conditions, and all those are real time. So there's going to have to be some serious statistical analysis, but I think they'll be able to pull it out.
And is it focused on both air and ground source, or is it just air, or
just air?
I'm building right now air source heat pumps. We'll be drilling to a ground source heat pumps as well, but also taking into account all the other variables that will go into annual J, the specific conditions of the building, air infiltration with the blower door test. So, the efficiency of just the unit, it's so dependent on the building variables that it's a pretty tricky equation. But I'm glad that you brought that up, and you and I can nerd this one out whenever you want. We can spend some time on the side. We can make it a little research project with Tom.
Yeah. You nerd it out and give us slides, and we'll cram them into the deck.
Sure.
Okay, you guys, so I need to actually go, so.
Okay, well, it's just 1:59 and 14 seconds, so shall we say thanks, everybody?
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, especially Hugo and Betta.
Yes.
Please let us know if you have more questions or comments, and you know how to find us.
Great, thank you. We'll be in touch, Betta.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And